This is Northern Virginia Mediation Services video on how to market your mediation skills. For the next 13 minutes, a panel of mediators will share their experiences on how they market and explain their mediation skills to employers, colleagues, and friends. The following panel of mediators includes Dan Taggart, who has been a Virginia Certified Mediator for 14 years now and currently holds the position of Director of Human Resources and Employee Relations for the College of Science at George Mason University. Dolores Gomez Moran is originally from Spain, where she received her license in psychology. Dolores has held the ombudsman position at George Mason University for the last 13 years. Marge Bleeweiss retired in 2008 as the Conflict Resolution Specialist for Fairfax County Schools. Marge has been a Northern Virginia Mediation Service family mediator for over 23 years. Rick Shapiro recently retired from the Deputy General Counsel for Defensive Nuclear Facility Safety Board. He was a nuclear engineer for the Navy for 20 years and has experience in both workplace and family cases. Tracy Carney received her master's from George Mason University in Conflict Analysis and Resolution. She is a certified mediator, mentor, facilitator, coach, trainer, and public participation specialist with over 20 years of experience in developing and implementing a variety of alternative dispute resolution programs. The first question we will explore is how these mediators market their skills.
I market my mediation skills in a variety of ways. Occasionally I have my business card whenever I go out to meetings, and on my business card I have typed out in the bottom mediation, coaching, participation, facilitation. I also have a website, so I have it on a URL. I have brochures that I carry with me a lot of times, and I leave them behind at conferences, workshops.
People ask me what I do, and I explain that I'm a mediator. They kind of look at me, what's that? I guess the best way to describe how I let people know what my skills are is I talk about my ability to facilitate conversations. And I use my skills as a mediator and let people know about my skills to help people talk about their issues and then guide them and help them come up with solutions. So people very often will ask me to help them if they've got a problem they're dealing with a colleague or a friend. More often than not, it's in their family, and they talk to me about it. So I can talk about my skills of being able to help them create dialogue.
Okay, with regard to marketing mediation skills, I do it by a number of ways. One is simply by example, and better by counting on word of mouth, and people in seeing through the example coming back. Another way, quite frankly, is directly discussing with people, getting the word out on how, quite frankly, constructive mediation is. That it is, in most cases, a very valuable and viable alternative to litigation.
What do you consider skills in mediation?
The communication skills learned through the mediation process and training are crucial. Most job advertisements that you see will say something about effective oral and written communication skills required or desired, and the mediation training that you take really reinforces that. The active listening, the paraphrasing, especially the awareness of nonverbal communications that we look for in the people that we're mediating for, all of those skill sets are helpful no matter what work environment you're looking to work in. Remain impartial in a situation is also incredibly helpful. Frequently, if you're in an office environment and you have 5 people sitting around a conference table, all of them arguing from a different perspective, the ability to sit back and impartially look at what they're saying and actually stepping back and seeing things from a bigger perspective, like mediators often do, is also incredibly helpful. That way you aren't getting caught in the trenches of the day-to-day disagreements, but you're looking at the bigger picture and being able to effectuate some real change in an organization.
With regard to skills in mediation, I think one is patience, most definitely, because realizing very often that the parties are in a difficult situation. It takes a lot of patience. Your skills are being able to control yourself, quite frankly, and not be directive, which can be a challenge for some of us, and it's just keeping that in mind. Another is basically a fair amount of self-control in maintaining a calming influence on the proceedings,
Skills in mediation are the classic communication skills, which involve active listening, paraphrasing, reframing, questioning in all its forms. We talk about open and closed questions, being able to use good open questions, good probing kinds of questions, being able to listen not only for facts, but also feelings, which is the hallmark of active listening, and being able to paraphrase them.
For me, the number one skill that a mediator needs to have is to be a good listener. That's the skill number one, and with that, you engage the parties. In the mediation process, people can feel when you are listening, when you are not listening, and that's extremely important in the mediation process. Another skill that I think is very, very important so that you can engage with the people that are sitting around the table is the ability to make the mediation process, to motivate the parties, to engage the parties so that they can own that process. So you are essentially like a tool, somebody that is helping them to get where they need to get. But if you are able to do that, that's extremely important to have, and it comes obviously from the mediator. I could think also the ability to make people comfortable, so that they can put themselves out there and put out the best that they have of themselves, so that the process can move along, and that they can feel that they have been heard, and that comes one more time from the ability that you have to listen to other parties.
In what other areas are these skills useful?
Well, quite frankly, I think a lot of the skills involved in mediation are basic life skills, if you will, and they're useful anywhere, quite frankly. General workplace, because as I believe I've said, we are always either trying to sell or negotiate something.
Well,
I think mediation skills can be used to almost in any of the areas of your life, starting with at work, you know, if you are a manager, to address issues of concern that people can have in your department, to your house, when your kids have disagreements, so you can use those skills as well, to dealing with if you are working in an environment of customer services as well, you know, in order to be able to serve people better, and essentially these are skills you can carry with you in any field that you can work in.
The skills that you learn through the mediation training are applicable everywhere. You've probably heard this over and over again, but it's true. You just use them in different ways depending upon the setting that you're in. So while you might actively listen in a mediation session, you can do that same thing when you're talking with a boss in corporate America. You can do that same thing with your spouse. It's just the way that you use the skills will be a little bit different. And using them naturally as opposed to mechanically is incredibly important because it has to seem genuine.
Even if you're not going to become a mediator, these skill sets are really useful if you're an HR person dealing with human resource issues. It helps you to assist parties in getting unstuck in the workplace. If you are a supervisor, so you may not be a formal mediator, and yet it can help you to, one, have a more effective conversation with an individual. It could help you to run a more effective team meeting, to explore different options. It may help you to hold these difficult conversations with other people. If you are legal counsel in a workplace environment, again, it helps you to identify what's the real issue to be resolved versus focusing on the blame or watching this dynamic get tangled up. It helps to untangle whatever the issues might be and explore different options. So I find that the skills are useful whether it's interpersonal, at home, with your family, with your neighbors, in the workplace. So I can see it in a variety of settings. You don't have to be a formal mediator to use these.
Which of your mediation skills are applicable in other professional environments?
Let me give you an example. For instance, being an active listener. That's extremely important when you work in a team. When you are managing also people, to be able to make people feel that you are listening to them. The ability to stay neutral. That's extremely important as well in order to build consensus around you, and that again, as a manager, as somebody that works with other people, that's another skill that can be transferable.
The skill that I think, of course, most people think about that's most applicable elsewhere is communication skills. The active listening, the clarifying, reframing. I was a school counselor before I became a mediator, so these skills are our stock and trade. And for counselors, the addition of the problem-solving skills, they already know the active listening skills, but adding the problem-solving skills and helping people really negotiate and learning about negotiation probably is the most valuable skill. Having the skills of a mediator helps you in any of these kinds of professions. Businessmen negotiate all the time. Being able to understand the concept of win-win and the skills to help people get there make you a stronger business person.
If you're interested in learning more about our conflict resolution training or our mediation services, please give us a call at 703-865-7272.